This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Wheel of Fate. Wheel of Fate in Edinburgh, Scotland is a cozy little witch shop where you can learn to make your own besom broom, bind a spell book, or spin wool into yarn. There you can find local art inspired by heritage crafts, the natural world, and regional myths and folklore. I love Scottish magic and mythology, and at Wheel of Fate, they believe that there is magic in the creative arts, and they want to share that magic with you. So go ahead and visit wheeloffate.co.uk to book a workshop or learn more. Hello, my friend. I am often asked about how people can get even more witch wave and more magic in their lives overall. And I have the answer. You can join me over on the Witch Wave Patreon. This is how you can hear from me and my other magical guests on a weekly basis via my Witch Wave Plus bi-weekly bonus episodes. And you get the regular Witch Wave episodes ad-free, and you get detailed show notes for all of it. And all Patreon members also get access to my monthly ritual workshops, which you can attend live or watch the recording of at your leisure throughout the month. Rewards for some tiers also include magical merch and contests where you can win witchly prizes, as well as early heads up about my workshops before they sell out, and opportunities to work with me one-on-one. And all backers get access to our exclusive digital coven, where you can connect to a community of other wonderful Witch Wave witches around the world. So head on over to patreon.com/witchwave and sign up. It's a magnificent way to get more magic in your life and to support the show. Thank you so much.
The world is filled with bewitching people, and you might be one too. Welcome to the podcast where art is magic, magic is real, and reality is stranger than dreams. I'm Pam Grossman, and this is The Witch Wave.
Hello, and welcome to the Witch Wave. The weather here in New York has been utterly glorious. I hope that those of you in the Northern Hemisphere are enjoying the blossoms popping out and the colors and the springtime sunshine, and that you're just soaking up every last drop of beauty. I certainly am trying to do my part. I am thrilled that this week I'll be headed to Cleveland, Ohio to speak at the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic. I will be celebrating Beltane with them and having a sure-to-be great conversation with the directors of the museum, and I hope to see some of you there. I'm told that it's sold out, but if you get really desperate, I think you can email them and see if there's any wiggle room. I don't know. I know it sold out a while ago, but you can try for sure. But speaking of spring, perhaps like me, you're also in a mode of spring cleaning, of getting rid of anything in your home that feels stagnant or broken or sad, and engaging in some magical rearrangement, if not pleasurable new acquisitions. One of the most effective spells that I know of is to change the energy of my space. And that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today, because my guest for this episode is Olga Naiman, who is an interior designer with a deeply magical perspective. And ever since I read her gorgeous new book, Spatial Alchemy, I have been so inspired to improve not just the aesthetics, but the vibration of the spaces I occupy. And some of these changes are seemingly small, but they still have such a big impact. I recently got rid of a lot of junk that was cluttering up my side of the desk here in Brooklyn, and I took down our lovely but lightly stained hand towel that's been hanging next to our bathroom sink for ages. And I treated myself to this gorgeous sort of terracotta salmon-colored linen towel with a little bit of a light black sort of plaid pattern. And that wasn't even something I was planning on doing, but I was drifting around in one of my favorite neighborhood shops, and this tea towel was just so pleasing to me. I just loved the color, and I kept stroking it, but it was a little bit more expensive than I would usually go for. And so at first I was like, oh no, I mustn't, I shouldn't. And then I remembered my conversation with Olga, and I thought to myself, this is something that I will engage with multiple times a day whenever I'm washing my hands, and it would remove that sort of meh, drab feeling that I feel whenever I use this older towel and I see those little stains. And so I just decided to treat myself. And now, washing my hands is this lovely, simple moment of engaging with beauty and with those luxurious Taurus vibes that we're all meant to lean into this season. And I tell you what, ever since I made even these two small changes, first cleaning up our desk and then upgrading our bathroom hand towel, I have had some new work opportunities present themselves to me and have just felt some vital new energy come into my life overall. And Olga, I know, would not be surprised to hear about any of this. And there are many other changes that I want to make to our spaces, but even those two tiny ones have made such an impact. And it's just so affirming of Olga's ideas about how beautifying our home and our office and so on can attract brighter versions of our lives. And this all reminds me of a letter that my favorite painter, Remedios Varo, wrote to Wicca pioneer Gerald Gardner in the 1950s. And this was translated by Margaret Carson. And just bear with me, this will all make sense, because in the letter to Gerald Gardner, Remedios writes the following, quote, "After long years of experimentation, I am now able to organize in an optimal way the little solar systems in the home. I've understood the objects' interdependence and the necessity of placing them in a certain manner so as to avoid catastrophes, or of suddenly changing their placement to provoke acts necessary for the common good. For instance, choosing my big leather armchair as the main celestial body, having around it and at a distance of 50 centimeters in east-west position a wooden table, originally a carpenter's bench and strongly imbued with artisanal emotions. Behind the armchair, at a distance of 2.5 meters, the skull of a crocodile. To the left of the armchair, among other objects, a pipe inlaid with fake diamonds, and to the right, at a distance of 3 meters, a green earthenware pitcher. I have a solar system. I won't go into a detailed description of the whole, it would be too long, which I can move at will, knowing beforehand the effects I can generate, though at times the unpredictable is generated, provoked by the rapid trajectory of an unexpected meteor across my established order. The meteor is none other than my cat." Unquote. So I can obviously relate to pretty much every detail of what Remedios is describing. Certainly in regards to the cats that come along like little meteors in our spaces. But even besides that, whether or not she was being cheeky in her surrealist way or actually was experimenting with a sort of whimsical feng shui or a sort of interior design based manifestation technique is up for debate. But I do love the idea of thinking about our homes as being filled with little solar systems of furniture and objects and energies. And so I remain committed to tweaking our own home solar systems some more and bringing some more flow and beauty and abundance into our lives. And I really think, in fact, I just know that you are going to love my conversation with Olga about all of this and more, and that you're going to be motivated to do some magical remaneuvering in your own home. But before we get to that, first, let's check and see what's come through on the Witch Wire.
Who is it?
Witches!
Hello, Witch Wave. I'm asking about ways I can possibly reignite my love and passion for the craft. It's been a little while and I have felt very disconnected from spirit, from source, and I'm wondering if you have any suggestions on how I can get back on the path.
It is so lovely to hear from you. Thank you so much for this question, and I'm sure many, many people can relate. And I chose to answer this query on this particular episode because I truly think that what Olga and I discuss is going to resonate with you and with anybody who is feeling magically stagnant. Because a spell is a materialized metaphor. It operates in the space of symbolism and mythopoesis and correspondences. And so the magical actions that we make or take represent the transformation that we are hoping to conjure. And when our lives feel stuck or stagnant or dull, there truly is no better way to unblock that energy than to physically cleanse and make room for something new to come in. For example, let's say you would like some more money. Absolutely, you could do a money spell by burning a green candle or making some offerings of coins or dollars to spirit, or carrying a green crystal with you, or any combination thereof. You get the idea. But just as effective, maybe even more effective, would be for you to clean out your wallet and your bag or your pocketbook. Go through and throw away old receipts and gum wrappers and random business cards and pen caps. Just clean out anything old and cloggy and make more room in there, which may then help money magic flow. You're making more space for that energy. So likewise, if you're feeling magically stagnant, I would suggest that it is a good time to do things like cleaning your altar, to lovingly dust and cleanse all of the objects you have on it. Maybe swap out your altar cloth for something clean or maybe even new. Remove any items on it that feel out of date or irrelevant or, just from another working that maybe is finished or that is no longer appropriate to how you're feeling in your life right now. And perhaps you might even choose to add something new to the altar, like a new statue of a god or goddess, maybe a candle, maybe a bouquet of flowers. You just want to refresh it overall. Or maybe there is just one favorite statue that you have in your home that feels super magical. And It's not a whole altar that needs attention, but just one object. And so you might want to take the time to dust it and cleanse it, bathe it, anoint it with oils, maybe give it a smoke bath with some incense, just give it some love. And if you have the wherewithal, you may want to extend this to your space overall and give your whole home a spring cleaning. But I don't want to overwhelm you. And seriously, just starting with one magical object or corner of your home or altar that's associated with your magic, which to you really represents your magical life, and then physically freshening it up, it's going to work such wonders. You just watch. So give it a try. Do some magical spring cleaning, and please let me know how it goes. May it bring in revitalized energy, may it renew you, and may it help you feel reconnected to the spirit that surrounds you always. Now, on to my guest. Olga Naiman has been a New York City-based magazine editor, freelance stylist, and interior designer for the past 25 years. Her work has been featured extensively in publications such as House Beautiful, Domino Magazine, The Washington Post, Real Simple, and many more. Her unique approach to design is called Spatial Alchemy, and it unites the spirit, psyche, body, and home for the purpose of self-realization and transformation. Her new book, Spatial Alchemy, Design Your Home to Transform Your Life, is out now. Olga currently lives in the Hudson Valley with her partner, 2 children, and pet bunny, and I was thrilled to get to speak with her in person here at the podcast studio in Brooklyn. And you can watch the video of our conversation over on my YouTube channel, which is at Phantasmophile. Olga Naiman, welcome to the Witch Wave.
I am so excited to be on the Witch Wave.
I'm so happy that you're here. Now, you have a brand new book out, and I'm just going to be honest, we both forgot to bring our copy of your beautiful book.
Yep.
And I'm annoyed about it because we are here to talk about the magic of interior design and beauty. So, of course, your book is like this exquisite object. It has a cloth cover. It's big, it's lush. So I'm going to hold up for those viewing this on YouTube an image of the book, but it's so much more beautiful in real life. So make sure you touch it and smell it and just get tactile with it. But a big, big congratulations on Spatial Alchemy. Design your home to transform your life. What a good title.
Thank you.
So I think of you as an interior designer. I think of you also as, I said this to you earlier off mic, a beauty witch. You are somebody who helps people conjure beauty, particularly in their living spaces, potentially in their workspaces as well. And I just have to know, how did this all start for you? Let's start at the beginning. How did you begin your interior design career?
Well, it started for me as a kid, really. Like at 11 years old, I was in the local library every single day after school, pouring through interior design magazines and books. So it was like a passion that really came out very early on, and the beauty of different people's homes. And then I got a job at a magazine, at the same magazine that I would look at as a child, House Beautiful magazine. And I became an editor there. Started out as an assistant and kind of worked my way up. I became an editor, and then I left to go to graduate school and study set design for theater. So I wanted to work with spaces even deeper, like in a more theatrical way, because homes were amazing, but I kind of wanted to play in a more theatrical capacity.
I love the idea of our home as a theater as well. Do you think of it that way?
Oh, it's a total experiential theater.
Oh,
And you get to set design it. You get to lighting design it. You get to design the experience you want to create for yourself.
I love that so much. And listeners know that my husband, Matt, is a playwright. So we spend a lot of time in the world of theater. And now you're helping me like come up with new language to talk to him to maybe get him more interested in interior design. And he certainly is very engaged in terms of the magic of our space and so on. But I love that different framing for it too. That's so, so beautiful. And theater is such a transformative art as well. So the theater of living, how magical. So let's first talk about when you were a kid and you were looking at those interior design magazines and House Beautiful specifically. What do you think it was that attracted you to it? Was there something different that it was offering you in the pages that maybe you weren't getting in the spaces you were living as a kid?
Oh, totally. I was an immigrant from the Soviet Union. So I had been taken from my home in Ukraine and like moved and we moved like nonstop until when I was 10 years old, I must have moved 3 or 4 countries 10 times.
Wow.
So I felt very unrooted. So I think it was a way for me to like stare at people's homes who felt rooted because I longed for it, but I didn't know how to create it for myself. And the magazines started showing me. So I created through my home.
Yes.
Like, this is what they do. So I started playing in my room, playing house. I mean, I love playing house as a child with dolls and then my room. Playing house was always the funnest thing for me.
Oh, yeah. But it seems like this was more than only about aesthetics. Not that aesthetics aren't important. And I love beauty and I love design. But it seems like this is about conjuring some kind of like emotional or energetic shift, correct?
Oh, completely. When we design our home for the feeling that we want to anchor in our life or for the future self that we want to bring into our current situation, when we bring that in via our design, we begin to collapse time. Like by working with space, you start to work with time because you work with time and space. There's a relationship between time and space.
Whoa. Wait.
I know.
We're
I
gonna
went
need to,
there
like,
real
unpack
fast.
this.
I went there real fast.
Olga, keep riffing on that. So
Okay.
let's talk about time and space and how aesthetics in our homes can maybe help us. Is it transcend it, collapse it, play with it?
It's collapse it. You want to bring your future into the present moment. So when we want something that we feel we don't currently have.
Yes.
So say it's abundance. Say it's that feeling that's very common for so many people. So say we're feeling scarcity in our life. We're feeling a financial constriction. We're feeling anxiety and what that does to our body.
Yes.
And we want to feel abundant, but that feels far away. In many ways.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not earning nothing or next to nothing. It's like definitely not enough for me.
Sure.
I don't want to spend money on my home,
Right.
but I want to feel abundant. So
Yes.
how do I do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you begin to work with the things you have and begin to like purge the scarcity identities and start looking at the things that are in your home that might represent outdated identities or unwanted patterns.
Okay. And so, oh my goodness, there's like 70 directions I want to take this. So, okay, let's stay with your example of conjuring abundance. You use that phrase, future self. So if someone is in a place of scarcity, I could imagine them saying, well, I don't want to spend money on my home.
Yeah.
And particularly, I imagine when people hear you talk about coming from the world of like editorial interior design, and now I know you do interior design for a lot of clients, that has a whiff of luxury, shall
Yes.
we say. And that word luxury often is coupled with ideas of literal money, with expense, with status, with a lot of words that, frankly, in a capitalist society, more and more of us are uncomfortable with. So can you unpack that a little bit? If somebody is feeling that sense of scarcity, but they're hoping to conjure a future self who feels abundant and stable, what do they do if they don't have
What are the
money that they can
steps?
really invest in this?
So there are ways that you can begin as a magical witch to weave the web, begin to generate momentum and weave the web of abundance in a very small but intentional and deliberate way, one step at a time.
Okay.
But I want to share that with you But I want to actually back up.
Yes,
Because
please.
what I want to say is the first thing you want to do is begin to see your home with new eyes. You want to start looking for patterns of scarcity that are already in your home.
Okay.
Like unwanted. I'm going to give a few examples
Please,
of it.
please.
For example, a friend of mine who's a high-level marketing director, like at the top of her game, I came to her home and she had this junky chair that she had found on the street. And all New Yorkers, we all feel pride when we find
yes, we
the
do.
thing on the street.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
especially when it's good and it works and like it's so satisfying,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So she had found this chair. She was in her 50s. She had found this chair on the street in her 30s. It had followed her around to like all her apartments. And I was like, you're at the top of your game. If you don't release the thing that you found on the street that represents like so many identities of you, like, is it more resonating with the future you or does it resonate more with the past you?
I see.
And that is the big question. Is this object resonating? Would my future self have this object?
Now, if she had said to you, yes, I have good energy with this
Yeah.
chair, it's lucky, it's beautiful, you wouldn't have cared that she
No.
found it on the street. You wouldn't have
No.
cared that she bought it in her 30s, but you intuited that perhaps this chair was something she felt like she had to keep bringing forward and maybe she had outgrown it. Is that right?
She had outgrown it. And in fact, it like brought the whole space down. It didn't feel like what she said she wanted to bring into her life.
Yes.
So it was like the opposite of that.
How interesting.
Yeah,
So did you convince her to let go of it?
I did. And then when she did, it just like felt like so much space opened up for her.
Yes.
Here's a personal story.
Please.
I had a beautiful table that was my desk that I worked on. And this table I had designed for this super chic event that I did when I was in my 30s. And it got all these accolades. What a cool table. What a cool table. And then
Yes.
the company let me keep it. So I was like proudly working on this table. And it was a surrealist table.
This is in the book. I
This
saw
is a
a picture of
story
this.
in the book.
And the image too.
Yep,
as I
it
recall.
shows that this table was a surrealist table and it had all these like witchy little legs going in opposite
And
directions.
you know I would have loved that table.
It was a cool table.
Yeah.
It was actually a chic table. It was in magazines.
Yes.
But it made me realize it embodied the same scattered energy, all these little legs going in different directions that I actually lamented about. It embodied my biggest complaints about my life in that table. Once I realized it, it was a big aha moment.
And just to pause you, so were you feeling that you were scattered? Were you feeling you weren't centered? And the table represented that because the legs
Exactly.
were surreal and kind
I
of.
felt exactly like that table. Magical, witchy, but moving in many different directions.
Okay.
I was writing the book. I was building a house from the ground up. It was the pandemic.
Yes, yes.
I was a mom. Like I was a partner. I had to like have my clients as well. And then a
Yeah.
little bit of me time. I was feeling like everything was going in opposite directions.
Yes.
And I said, actually, I don't want that. I don't want to build my business on something that feels like that.
Right. And this is your work table, your
This
desk.
is where my empire is birthed.
Oh,
You
I
know?
love that. But yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
So I gave that table away to my upholsterer. It was this big, long table. He said it was perfect for his studio.
Perfect.
And like I lamented it. I grieved it. And then I got a vintage, like kind of 1930s Art Deco table on two thick legs.
Stable.
Stable, sturdy, that like
Yes.
literally physically embody what I want to feel like, right?
And let's say that maybe, and I'm just trying to put a pretty bow on this, that maybe the person you gave the table to, maybe they needed a little more whimsy in their lives.
Kinda
or
did.
a little more like loose energy. So just because it
Exactly.
wasn't right for you anymore,
Yeah.
it could have been perfect for someone else.
Exactly. So the thing in and of itself, the chair on the street, there is no problem having a chair off the street. You could reupholster it every 10 years if the chair has good bones and it's serving you and you feel comfortable.
Yes.
But you have to decide whether it is resonating more with what you want to bring into your life or more like where you've been. You want to find the 5 worst offenders that feel like out of tune
Mhm.
with your future self. Like, for example, if you want intimacy in your life,
Mhm.
but in your bedroom, you would like a partner and you feel like a little stuck in the manifesting of a partner.
Yeah.
You want to look around your bedroom.
Yeah. Do you have like edgy images of, I don't know, nails?
Yeah,
Well,
or
unless
just
you want to get nails.
pointy
Hey-o.
things.
Sorry.
Do you
Josh, thank you for the
We're
laugh.
talking
I
about
really
the bedroom.
appreciate that. Keep going. Keep going.
You want to design as if the partner is already there, right? That's
Yeah.
the time collapse that I'm talking about. It's like already happening. The partner is already there. And if a partner was already there and you had the desire, I want to live with someone. Okay, what if that other side of the bed was taken up by it? What kind of person would be
Exactly.
partnered with you?
Exactly.
So what kind of lamp? Like you want to kind of start coding for union. You want to get the lamps that are like, I love matching lamps. I love matching nightstands. As an alchemist, as a designer, I think unmatching is more funky.
Yeah.
But like if you want partnership in your life,
Yeah.
you want to like start designing as if like you want to match, you want to balance with your partner.
So this
You
is
wanna-
really reminding me of just the idea in magic. You know, there is that phrase, sympathetic magic. This idea that when we cast a spell, we are supposed to use the symbols, the colors, the things that evoke the energy or that have the associations of that which we are trying to attract, correct?
Yes.
So this is like thinking of your home as a spell or your office as a spell or your business, space as a spell, correct, in a way?
Yes. Well, because it is.
Yes.
So it's just bringing what kind of spell is it into consciousness.
Ugh.
Because it's already a spell, whether you know it or not.
Ooh, I just got the chills. On that note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. The Witch Wave is sponsored by BetterHelp. Look, I know therapy can feel like a big investment, but the state of your mind is just as important as your physical health. Maybe you're like me and you spend money on nutritious food and skincare and a gym membership, which in my case I barely use, but that's another story. But I can say, hand on heart, that spending money on therapy is one of the best investments I give myself because I'm taking care of my mind and my well-being. And when I'm feeling mentally healthy, my magic, my work, my life all benefit immensely. It makes such a difference. I cannot even tell you. But let's talk numbers here. So traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 a session, and that adds up fast. But with BetterHelp online therapy, you can save on average up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and time. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. And with online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. And remember, therapy isn't just for people who have experienced major trauma. It can just help you navigate the little things that come up and make you feel anxious or frustrated or upset. And it can help you come up with strategies to help you live the life you want. It can also help you celebrate the good things, and you know I'm a big fan of that too. I am telling you, I would not be living my dreams as a witch, writer, podcaster, whatever I am right now, without having regular therapy sessions. Therapy has helped make me a more productive, more happy, and more potent person. So what are you waiting for? With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. It's convenient too. You can join a session with the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/witchwave today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/witchwave. Hi, Witchwavers. I know, and you know, you want some Witch Wave merch. And our print-on-demand merch site is now available through Dashery. So if you want to get different variations of our gorgeous Witch Wave logo designed by Thunderwing, or our Witches Are the Future catchphrase designed by Lara Antal, printed on everything from t-shirts, mugs, totes, stickers, magnets, notebooks, you name it, you can. Shirts come in different styles and fabrics and are available in sizes small through 5XL, so you can order whatever you'll feel you're most comfortable and most magical in. So head on over to witchwave.dashery.com. That's witchwave.dashery.com, or you can click the Dashery link in the Witchwave shop over at witchwavepodcast.com/shop. Welcome back to the Witch Wave. So I want to hear a little bit more about your personal journey with this. You talked about being at that moment in your life where things were a little bit scattered. And at the beginning of Spatial Alchemy, you tell this great story about it's 2020 and you're feeling, as I recall, a little frustrated with some of the pieces in your home. And you decide you need to change, even though, as you say, some of these changes would have been like a little bit of a financial stretch, correct? Can you tell that story?
Yes. In 2020, I kind of, in the quiet of the pandemic, I surveyed my whole life and I realized that I felt stuck and unsatisfied, like in every single part of my life.
Yeah.
Which was a big realization.
Oof.
And then at the same time, I was a stylist for many years. In addition to being an interior designer, I was a freelance stylist. I'd be working for CB2 and Target and
So like homewares
interior stylist.
Uh-huh.
And I had been frustrated with that, feeling like I want more depth. Like I don't want to be styling. Bless the catalogs, but I wanted more depth in my career.
Yes.
Those styling jobs went away in the pandemic. So
Yeah.
I was kind of petrified financially. And my partner's job was also kind of on freeze. So we were into our savings at this point. And at the same time, my sofas were coming apart because my 5-year-old twins were like literally destroying them. They were home doing Zoom kindergarten and destroying the furniture.
I cannot even imagine. My goodness.
It was bananas. So it was like a cartoon. The springs were coming out.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this and thinking I need to reupholster. But then I was like, reupholstering and literally all the chairs, sofa, everything was coming out, all the upholstery, because it was old. And I'd been saying, I'm going to wait until I move to like my dream house to buy the things, you know? So I was in a lot of scarcity around it. Then I kind of had the thought that, okay, I'm not going to reupholster for my now self. I'm going to reupholster for my future self, the one that lives in her dream home, the one that has those things. I'm going to just take the leap and just say, I am really ready to step into that.
Yes.
So I just kind of said, universe, I am ready.
Yes.
And then like I bit the bullet and I bought the beautiful fabric. And then my living room immediately just shifted.
Oof.
You know, so I didn't want to buy new upholstery. I wanted to like just reupholster what I had.
Yeah.
Then suddenly, like 2 weeks after it all arrived, because it all arrived, I literally emptied out my living room of all the upholstery. We sat on the floor for a month, you know?
Yeah.
And then everything came back.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, so much shifted in my life.
What happened?
I was feeling stuck. And then suddenly there was a series of steps here, but I'm just the Washington Post wrote an article about my work. How I was a design therapist. Because I connected with a reporter. I was telling her about my work.
Yes.
And she was like, this is fascinating. I want to write about it.
So you were calling yourself a design therapist at the
that
time?
point, it was more of a design therapist.
How
because I didn't even
interesting.
have the spatial alchemy language. Or I did, but I wasn't like thinking that the mass.
You weren't out of the broom closet
I
quite
was
yet.
not out of the. I
Yeah.
was like inching my way out.
Yes,
So like
yes.
psychology, and I do work a lot with psychology.
Yeah.
And the psyche and how your home affects your psyche, your
Sure.
conscious, your subconscious. So I was really feeling comfortable calling it psychology.
Am I remembering that your parents or one of your
They're
parents?
both shrinks.
Yeah. There
So-
you go.
And I have a BA in psychology. So I felt comfortable in there.
Sure.
So it was a design therapist. But then suddenly, the publisher who published my book called me the next day and said, do you want to write a book? I think you
They
have a
hadn't
book.
published the book yet.
I hadn't been going for being an author. Like I wasn't even thinking that I could do that. Like I wasn't.
So they saw the Washington Post article and they
said, if you want to write a book, we want to publish it.
Wow.
And it just fell on my lap. And then I was like, whoa. how the F did
You
I
can say
manifest
fuck.
that?
It's okay.
How the
We can
fuck
handle it.
how the fuck did I manifest that?
Yes.
Like what? So then I kind of scanned. I was like, I must have done something right. I'm going to like sit here and think about what I did. What was the big thing I did that like caused this good fortune to
Yeah.
literally fall in my lap?
Yeah. And so you think reupholstering these pieces, bringing more beauty and positive energy into
Yeah.
your space was that message in a bottle to spirit,
Mhm.
which said, all right, I'm ready. Bring in more
Yeah.
magic, opportunity,
Yeah.
abundance, and
It
so
just
on.
unstuck all this because that upholstery had been old. I had upholstered those chairs and sofas when my kids were born.
Yeah.
It was like literally peeling off skin. Think of the metaphor that resonated more with what I wanted to bring into my life than actually what I currently felt at the moment, which was mostly scared
Yeah.
of like about my future.
Yeah.
And then I brought in sofas that represented me not like sitting in the abundance. And then it
Yes.
fell into me. So I started really experimenting.
Oh,
I was my own first guinea pig. And
Keep-
then on my
yes.
clients, I was like, people are really ready for this conversation.
So, what books were you reading? What magical or spiritual modalities were you researching and tapping into, which gave you this framework? Or was it all intuitive? Like, were you
No.
learning about feng shui and all those things? Or were you just trusting your own intuition? Or
So I was definitely learning and researching. So
Mhm.
I was on my own personal journey in the pandemic. I said, as soon as the pandemic happened, I've always wanted to learn the Kabbalah.
Oh,
I've never had the time.
Yeah.
Now I have no job.
Yeah.
So I actually have the time to learn the Kabbalah. And that's actually really what seeded it.
yes.
Because that is my own tradition,
Yes.
the Jewish tradition.
Yes, I have.
So
Yep, me too.
with Feng Shui, what always bothered me personally was that I wasn't from that culture. And I found it fascinating.
Yes.
There were parts of it that I couldn't relate to personally,
Mhm.
but I knew that my home and my life were in conversation. As a designer, all designers know that. Not even designers, homeowners know
Yeah,
that. We just
yeah.
know that.
Or renters.
Or renters, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyone who lives in a home
Yes,
is
of
what
course.
I meant.
I know that.
But it was more like the Kabbalah started seeding it for me because it's a map of how you bring spirit into matter. How
Yes.
spirit into matter, how spirit is condensed into matter,
Yes.
and matter is brought forth.
Yes.
And that's how I see it. That's my lens of seeing it. And
Right.
that is a very fascinating thing. Like, as witches, how do you take the ineffable, the spirit world, how do you work with the etheric plane
Yes.
and bring it into the
This
material
is what my next
world?
book is about.
Right?
Yeah. How are we able to tap into what I call creative force and then manifest it and make it
Yeah.
material through our art, through
Yeah.
our homes, through our businesses, whatever it is?
How do you take spirit and bring it into matter?
Yes.
So that is what was fascinating for me, with the studies. So I started studying the Kabbalah and ancient Egypt and the Golden Dawn, and one thing led to another thing and all the
Yeah.
things and alchemy. And
Yeah.
so I came at it not from the Wicca perspective.
Mhm.
For me, it was from the alchemical lens, especially
Beautiful.
like kind of the ancient Egyptian, Judaic, Abrahamic religions,
Mhm.
because I felt like, okay, I can resonate. This is my heritage.
Yeah.
And I could resonate with that. And then there's also the psychological factor.
Yes.
How does that impact the psyche? And I'm a student of the psyche. So
Mhm.
all those things were kind of gurgling together in my cauldron.
If you will. Yes.
If you will.
How beautiful. So, okay, you start this process in your own space, and then you start bringing it to your clients.
Yes.
And how did this help their lives shift? Did you see a palpable change when they started taking your more magical advice?
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, anyone knows, even when you think of what you feel like when your home is messy and what you feel like when your home is clean.
Can we talk about clutter?
Well, I actually have a more interesting conversation. The difference
Please.
between decluttering and dissolving.
I remember this from your book. I
Yeah.
love this. Please
And
keep going.
For all witches, we know this. This is kind of the
Yes.
Negredo phase of alchemy. This is
Yes.
kind of when
Death and
the death and rebirth.
Dissolution.
It's like
Mhm.
literally starting with the death. And if
Mhm.
you want a rebirth, you have to go through a death. So when you do it in a very intentional way, and when you work with this death, this dissolving, and you want to start dissolving outdated identities out of your home, because decluttering is awesome.
yeah.
We love decluttering. I love decluttering. But it's only the top surface, and then the clutter appears, and then you're in a cycle of decluttering.
I'm sure I don't know what
You
you
know,
mean.
we all know this.
Yes.
But when you start working with dissolving, you're dissolving outdated identities, and it
Mhm.
goes more deep.
Mm-hmm.
And you begin to disrupt patterns. And then when you disrupt patterns, you create space for the rebirth. This is what
Yes.
this Passover kind of Easter season that we just passed by the time this airs,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
is all
yes,
about. How you
yes.
work with the death and rebirth cycle. And all us witchies, we love the death and rebirth
We
cycle.
sure do. So, okay, this is making me think, and I'm so sorry in advance for bringing her name up because I'm sure you're asked about her all the time. But it makes me think of Marie Kondo,
Mhm.
who, by the way, and I've mentioned
She's
this before,
amazing.
she's amazing. She also
Yeah.
has a Shinto
Mhm.
background. Like, she really has this more like animist sort of way of engaging with objects and things. And she doesn't talk about it that much, but it's true. But I love this idea that you're evolving it. It's not just about touching a thing and how does it feel. You're like literally, can you see this in your future? Or does this object help you connect to your future self and the things you want to bring in?
Mhm.
It's this whole other like holographic layer
Mhm.
that to me is beyond just, do I like this? Does this feel good now?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's like, would I buy this again?
Mm.
Would the person that I am buy this thing again? And if most of the things in your home you would not buy again, you want to start looking at that.
Ooh, that really hits me. So, what do you say to somebody who literally does not have the money to spare on this? You're saying it's okay. You can still get rid of things that
Yeah.
are weighing you down and
live in a-
repurpose things.
Yeah, that is the number one thing. So the first thing is you want to see the worst offenders. You want to start seeing the things that really you would not buy again. In fact, like you are
Yes.
kind of sick of looking at
Yes.
that because they're no longer resonating with you. So that's
Okay.
step number one. You want to purge, right? You want to see things with different eyes. You want to purge, create a mini death. Just let go. Then you want to sit in the emptiness a bit. Don't run to buy stuff. And
That's going to
feel
be
like
hard for me, Olga.
I know,
Yeah.
because we are afraid of emptiness. It's like the winter. It's like the empty womb.
Yeah.
Is it really empty? It's actually pregnant with possibility.
Mm-hmm.
When you create space, nature pours a vacuum, right?
Right.
Other
Right.
things come into the space.
Right,
So
right.
you want to let that process breathe a bit.
Okay.
And this is why I'm so excited to kind of talk people through this. You don't need to spend a lot of money.
Okay.
So here's what you want to ask yourself. Now you're beginning to weave. First you purge, and now you reweave the new pattern,
Oof.
right?
I'm getting the chills. Okay, keep going. Keep going.
So you reweave the new pattern tiny step at a time. So think of the things that you touch most often in the day, like a tea towel, the water glass next to your bed,
Yes.
your sponge, your watering can, your coffee mug, your
Mhm.
whatever it is, salt and pepper shakers, your olive oil glugger, like your whatever it is.
Yes.
And begin to start thinking, how can I, with this one object, upgrade this one object and make it like 20% more exquisite or 20% like more in line with the energy that
Mhm.
I want to bring forth.
Mm.
Right? So these are little things like the most exquisite sponge money can buy. Like
Wow.
is probably going to be $20.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right?
Right.
So a lot of us, you want to start like weaving abundance and the energy of exquisite and regal
The
and
energy
dig,
of exquisite.
right?
Give it to me.
That's like affordable luxury. So
Yeah.
you asked at the beginning of the segment, like
Mhm.
about how we kind of cringe with luxury, but part of us really wants it too. And
Of
there's like, we all
course.
have this conflictual relationship with it.
Yeah.
But if it's like small, exquisite items of beauty, you begin as you weave strand by strand to
Mhm.
see how it makes you feel to interact with that sponge on a
Mhm.
daily
Mhm.
basis,
Mhm.
to interact with your water glass
Right.
on a
right.
daily basis and drink water from the most beautiful, could be vintage from like Goodwill.
I mean, it's so
I mean-
funny, Olga, because Matt and I have so many mugs. It's ridiculous. But I only use one mug for my tea in the morning because it's beautiful and it's special. And I guard this thing like It's the jewel of my cave and I'm a dragon. Like, I love this mug so much. And Matt is even more protective of it. Like, it's just really special. And that is a moment every day. And I really appreciate this mug. Like, I really love it. And I love the idea of trying to have those moments. They're rituals too.
They're rituals.
And weaving them in other pockets of my day and not just keeping it for breakfast,
Exactly. Like, imagine 10 times the energy of the mug in a sponge, in a drinking glass, in your salt and pepper shaker, in your shoehorn. Think
I
of
love
these
that
like
you use a shoehorn. That's
I
so
love a good
darling.
shoehorn.
Do you?
Yes.
What am I missing?
I hate that feeling of like shoving my foot into my shoe. It is not
Wow.
regal.
Damn! You heard it here. Okay. I do
used
not
to
have
do
a
it.
shoehorn.
I used to hop around on one foot
Yeah.
and shove my other foot into a shoe. And then I thought, like, I'm 51.
Okay.
My future self and my present self does not
Yeah.
hop around. Like, that was for when I was 20.
Yeah.
I do not want to hop around any longer. So I bought myself a beautiful tortoise shoehorn and I sit down on a beautiful chair in my foyer and I put my shoe on with my
Okay, so
shoehorn.
I do have an equivalent now that I'm thinking about
Yes,
it.
we all have an equivalent.
My equivalent is a number of years ago, I bought a beautiful letter opener. And like, I never would have even thought to buy such a thing when I was in my 30s or 20s. But, you open mail, it's a thing. And there's just something about having that beautiful little object that just makes that moment more special. And usually
It
you're
does.
opening mail, or often that's like
True.
a bill or a
It's
whatever.
such a chore.
Yeah.
But this helps it be less of a chore.
Big time.
I need to get a new letter opener.
There you go.
Because my mail
I'll get a
piles up.
shoehorn.
For all the mail piler uppers,
Yes.
the antidote is a beautiful letter opener.
There you
I like it. A
go.
beautiful pair of scissors.
How fabulous.
Yeah, and a lovely tray.
Exactly.
Like making a ritual of it. I love that.
Yeah.
So that's an aha moment for me.
Yeah.
Like, so basically you start receiving these little aha moments, making tedious rituals maybe a little bit more pleasurable by the addition of a beautiful object.
Yes.
And you're like weaving that into being. And then you want to see, as the witch you are, you want to start seeing how life responds.
Yeah.
So here's where the magic is.
Okay.
Is like, at what point, how many strands in the web that I am weaving will it take? And it's going to be subtle at first, as all spells are, to bring synchronicity, unexpected doors opening, the feeling of the tide is turning.
An opportunity.
An opportunity.
A
These
conversation.
little, a conversation, a sign, like some kind of sign,
Yeah.
a feeling, an intuition, whatever it is, however it
Yes.
is, your magic is working. How many strands will it take? And that's when you start feeling comfortable in the conversation. Okay, if I do this, wait, I got a little bit of abundance there. My bank made a mistake on the thing and I got,
Yeah.
however it works for you,
Yeah.
you start like noticing it into being.
That is such a great phrase, too.
Mm.
I love that. Noticing it into being. How fabulous. On that note, we're going to take another quick break and we'll be right back. This episode of The Witch Wave is brought to you, as it so often is, by Mithras Candle. In ancient times, candles were more than mundane sources of light. They held sacred significance, embodying hope, renewal, and comfort during the darkest hours. And with my friends at Mithras Candle, this tradition is upheld with reverence. Made by the hands of my mythic and scientific pals in Philadelphia, each Mithras candle is a testament to purity and craftsmanship using the most sacred of materials, beeswax. Picture the gentle flicker of Mithras beeswax candles, carrying that gorgeous natural aroma of honey and floral notes. And while their Byzantine hand-dripped halcyon pillars steal the show, Mithras offers a variety of shapes and colors, including seasonal delights like the upcoming pink for spring. Collaborations for 2025 include a partnership with another Witchwave friend, Zoo's Incense, giveaways with your favorite witchy brands, and an exclusive luxury line of 24-karat gold and silver leaf candles inspired by angel magic. Are you ready to illuminate your space with arcane luxury? Visit mithrascandle.com today and use the new offer code WitchWave to enlighten your world with 25% off your first order. That's M as in magic, ITHRAS candle.com and use offer code WitchWave, all one word, for 25% off your first order. This season of The Witch Wave is brought to you by Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab. For 20 years, indie scent artist Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab, known affectionately as BPAL, has been formulating perfume oils for each month's full moon, inspired by their colorful names and descriptions in historical almanacs. 2025 will be no exception. Look for their monthly launches called A Little Lunacy, which include not only these limited edition scents for fellow lunatics, but also an ongoing series of perfumes inspired by classical artworks, and some which raise funds for a variety of charitable causes. The lab's general catalog is teeming with perfume oils, hair gloss sprays, beard oils, and bath oils, which can be yours year-round, covering a truly bewildering range of scent types and inspirations that include cinema, Gothic literature, and occultism. To that end, BPAL recently brought back a recurring scent series called An Evening with the Spirits, drawing from legends and historical accounts of Victorian-era spiritualism. These haunting scents, such as Psychodynamic Discharge and the Fox Sisters, will remain in Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab's web shop well into 2025. Month by month, year by year, the lunacy continues at blackphoenixalchemylab.com. I've got a really special new offering for you all, and that is new Witch Wave ceremonial soap, which has been made in collaboration with my favorite soap company, 2 et al. 2 et al. Makes soap and skincare using traditional alchemical techniques to transform pure water and plant-based ingredients into beautiful, handcrafted, cold-processed soaps, which are also magically charged. These soaps are beyond bewitching and luxurious, and after being a hardcore fan of them for a while, I knew I wanted to collaborate with them, and I am so thrilled that they agreed. I'm overjoyed to now offer Witch Wave Soap by 2 et al., available now exclusively in the Witch Wave shop over at witchwavepodcast.com/shop. 2 et al. Founders Matthew and Natalie and I put our heads together to come up with a special soap blend that is deeply magical just for you. The Witch Wave blend incorporates such intentional ingredients as black salt for cleansing and protection, yarrow to aid in divination and love, and mugwort, also known as artemisia, for lunar connection and visionary insights. It's also blended with the most beautiful fragrant oils, including frankincense, which smells incredible and also helps amplify connection with the divine. We were invoking deities like Artemis and Hecate when designing the ingredients of the soap, as well as the packaging. You'll note the skeleton key on the side. And this soap can be used whenever you want to ready yourself for ritual work or simply as a daily ceremonial practice to help you cleanse and recenter into your own magic. So go ahead and order Witch Wave Soap by 2 et al. And me over at witchwavepodcast.com/shop. And if you want to check out 2 et al.'s other incredible alchemical soap blends and skincare, you can do so at 2etal.co. That's TUETAL.co, and use offer code WitchWave15 for 15% off your order from the 2 et al. Website. So once again, you can get our new exclusive Witch Wave soap from the Witch Wave shop, And you can get 15% off other 2etAll offerings from their site, 2etall.co, with offer code WitchWave15. Welcome back to the Witch Wave. You know, it's interesting how our spaces also reflect who we are, and they also reflect our desire.
Mhm.
So one of the anecdotes from my life that's coming into my head is, so Matt and I bought this little house upstate a few years ago, and it's a really humble little abode.
Right. You spoke about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But it had good bones. We liked the location. We could afford it. It didn't look like our dream house, but we knew it had potential.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been this ongoing project of making it feel more and more magical and more our style. And one of the big moments we had is there was this accent wall. It's
Mhm.
the first wall you see when you
Mhm.
walk in the door. And the prior owners had painted it. This is going to sound pretty. I promise you it wasn't. It was like a sky blue, but it was kind of like a kindergarten class, bright.
Right.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't-
Annoying,
yeah.
grating.
it wasn't our taste. And it made me feel ugh every time I looked at it. And Matt and I were looking at paint swatches, and my favorite color is purple.
Mm.
And we already have this couch that has purple upholstery on
Mhm.
it. And my grandpa made the couch, but we reupholstered it in purple. And I kept gravitating toward these purple swatches. And then I'm like, no, I can't. It's too much purple. I don't want to be the purple crazy lady. Like, I can't.
Purple lady.
And Matt was like, it makes you so happy.
Yeah.
It makes you so happy, and it'll look awesome. Like, why don't we go for it? At least let's try it. We could always repaint it. And I was like, I don't know. Dare I? Could I? And like, we did it. And it's my favorite thing. It's just the most beautiful, glorious color. It looks
Mm.
beautiful with the couch. And there's plenty of other
Mm.
colors around. So it's not, the
Mhm,
only thing. It just delights me. But it's interesting how I had a little bit of tension and self-consciousness around it. Like, would I dare be that exquisite and extravagant? And
And
then
that-
doing it, like, really felt amazing.
Because you touched in with the future self that
Yes,
dares, you know?
yes.
It brings up a really interesting thing, not only about daring to
Mhm.
let yourself do the audacious thing
Mhm.
and play in the audacious space,
Mm-hmm.
but it also brings...
I love that phrase too. Play in the audacious space. Come on.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you want that in your life. If
Yes.
you want like more confidence, more audaciousness, start working with scale. And I want to talk about color
Yes,
a little
please.
bit. That's like the big question.
Yeah.
Anyone like who meets me is like, how do I work with color? I'm really scared of color. I'm afraid to mess up color. You know,
Yes.
I'm afraid to paint my wall and then realize it was the wrong color. I mean, that is a
Yes.
really scary
And paint's not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap and it's
it takes
effortful.
yes, when you're
Yes.
doing it yourself or
Exactly.
you're spending money to pay someone else.
Exactly. So you want to start working with color. There's an easy way I find to tell people to work with color. Do you want the room to kind of invigorate you? So you want to do brighter colors,
Yeah.
more intense. It's not
Yeah.
about being scared of color. Some colors don't have intensity. Like think of deep purples that are
Mhm.
almost like brownie purples.
Yes.
Think how
yes.
rooted those are.
I love
And then
that
like kind of
too.
more electric violet. When you
Yeah.
think of that scale of brightness and intensity, the deeper colors are down regulating your nervous system.
Mhm.
So you walk in a room of like deep purple or a deep green or a deep orangey ochre kind of color.
Mhm.
Like that does something to your body. And simultaneously, bright pops of color are motivating, bring in vitality if you want more vitality, if you're
Yes.
fatigued, depressed, need more uppers.
Yeah.
Bring in the intensity.
Yes,
Just do
yes,
some
yes.
touches like some pillows, a textile on the wall. Like for
Mhm.
those who don't want to paint, get a large textile or fabric at a
Beautiful.
discount fabric store and nail it with tiny little nails all around your room. I did that for a rental. Again, I had no budget. I was
Yeah.
cheapity cheap.
Yeah.
But with teeny little nails, golden nails, I nailed this orange linen fabric in front of this ugly stucco wall in
Yeah.
my Brooklyn rental.
Yeah.
It was this like 70s stucco wall. It like offended me. I
Yes.
was like, I can't do anything about this freaking
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to cover it with fabric. And I bought this
Yes.
orange discount cheapy fabric and just nailed it all across the wall so the room became like this orange Casbah.
Yeah.
And it was very deep orange, and everyone who walked into it like felt it.
Oh,
Were
yeah.
like,
I
oh my
love
God.
orange. We have a lot of orange
Yeah.
too. It's
So
just
it's a good color.
warm hearth
Yeah.
color.
And if you want like the depth, bring in the deeper colors, like bring in the less vibrant. If you
Yeah.
want vitality and upper,
Yeah.
so do you want to kind of settle down and go deeper? Or do
Mhm.
you want to kind of bring in more vitality and motivation? That's how
Yes.
you really work with color, because deep brown is going to work with deep green, and that's going to work with yellow. And then you could add a
Yes.
little bright pop of yellow to kind of not keep it from being somber. So you start layering color.
Okay. I have to ask you about, and I'm forgetting the exact phrase. I think it's something like your emotional regulation chair. Is that
Mhm.
right? Is that what you call it in the
Yes,
book?
that is exactly what I call
Okay.
it in the book.
I absolutely am stealing this idea because I have some lovely chairs, but I have a fantasy chair that I do not yet have in my life.
Mhm.
And my aunt, she has one of those, I think they're called like chair and a half
Mhm.
chairs. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
you know, it's not quite a love seat. It's a little
Right, a
smaller. It's
little
for
smaller.
one person,
Right,
but it's
right.
big. I feel like a bird in a nest when I'm in this
Right,
chair. And I'm
right.
a small person, so I can like curl up and it's sort of like,
Holds you.
yeah. And I'm like, I need that in my
Right.
life. And I don't currently have the space for it in either of our homes. I'm going to have to like do some rearranging.
Yeah.
But I really think it's important
Yeah.
after reading your book. I'm like, I need a chair that I just know is going to cradle me.
If you want that energy of being cradled, and who doesn't want to be cradled?
I'm
Like
saying.
being held, being like supported, something that really feels like nestled. If you want to like, like nestle more in your life, more softness, more holding,
Yes.
like it's bumpy out there,
Oh,
we
we
out in the
all
big
need an
world.
emotional regulation
Yeah.
chair.
And like the reason I came up with that title was because I'd come home from work.
Yeah.
And like immediately my kids would rush me because they wanted my
Yeah,
attention.
of course.
I'd be overwhelmed. I'd be hungry. I'd be grouchy. Before I could deal with anything, I would need to have a snack.
Yeah.
That was my way of emotionally regulating.
Mhm.
And then I realized that I kind of shovel in the snack and then I eat dinner again. And this is not a good habit.
Okay.
And I decided instead of going for a snack, I'm going to spend 5 minutes in my emotional regulation chair. And the kids would pile on top of me and we would all sit in the emotional regulation chair so mommy could regulate her emotions.
That's so sweet. So speaking of kids, I do not have
Yeah.
kids and we're not planning on it. We do have cats.
Mm.
But kids, cats, dogs, these
Yeah.
creatures that we live with, how do we have the beautiful spaces of our dreams while living with lovely but potentially destructive little beasts?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It depends what nature of beast you have.
I
Yeah.
noticed in your book, and I don't know if these are updated pictures, but you have a lot of white. And I'm like, how do you have white upholstery or white carpets with kids?
Mostly I have color. I do have a light colored jute rug.
Yes. Okay. So that's easier to clean.
It's easier to
Okay.
clean. It's more
More sturdy.
forgiving,
Got it.
Yes, I definitely can't have white upholstery with
Right.
my children.
Right. I can't have
And-
it with me.
No,
honestly.
and no one could have it. It's not really that. I mean, I don't want to say no one. There are those who are lucky.
I
And
know people who are
too
devoted to
to
white
their white
upholstery,
upholstery,
and
and I get
bless
it.
them. I'm so jealous.
Yeah,
That couldn't be
yeah,
me. Couldn't
yeah.
be me.
No, it's like slip covers are
Yeah.
really great ideas. There's so many strategies.
Yeah.
I mean, at a certain point, you have to realize you buy a good sofa that you really like. You might have to reupholster it every 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the investment that you make. But
Yeah.
like beautiful throws, beautiful other textiles layered on it help.
I'm becoming my mom. I used to say that she had pillorexia because she just didn't have enough pillows ever. We'd be like, Mom, you have enough pillows. She's like, no, I need more pillows. Like she just couldn't
Yeah.
see correctly
Yeah.
the pillow situation of her life. And now I'm becoming like a throw pillow queen.
Yeah.
But it's like the jewelry of your house or beautiful, soft, like accessories and art pieces,
Totally, totally. And there's always the balance. So you have to feel into whether you might want to take away a few and
Yeah.
see how the
I
room
had her
feels.
take away a few.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
When I visit them and
Yeah.
bless them, and they'll probably watch this, and I love you, Mom, so much. But when I visit them in Arizona now, I grew up in New Jersey, but they moved to Arizona a few years ago. They moved to a smaller space.
Right.
My mom's an artist.
Right.
My dad's a musician. They have
Yeah.
a very eclectic life with
Yeah.
lots of beautiful art objects. So many fucking bowls, I can't even tell you. So many seashells, I cannot begin to express. But anyhow, bless her, she let me very gently help her like declutter some of it and take away some of the pillows, take away some of the bowls, really choose the bowls she loves. And we donated the other bowls. And it made such a difference in her space. So, anyway, now I just want to tell you like everything about my life. And I just want you to look at my spaces and my family's spaces and so on, because it's such a gift that you're giving people with this. And it's really empowering. Like, I feel really motivated after talking to you and reading your book to like make some changes.
Yeah. And then do it, because then here's the fun part is you get to
Yes.
see how your life responds. Right?
Yes.
Because the changes in and of themselves will feel good.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to like shift the energy in your home.
Yeah.
But the cool part happens when your life starts to respond. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
you get to tune into the conversation. Okay, I do this in my home. Okay, this thing happens in my life. I do this in my home. And this thing happened. And I know that I feel intuitively that there's a direct relationship, a causal relationship,
Yeah.
cause and effect. It's like making a spell. And then the spell works.
Wow.
Right? So use your home as a spell.
Yes. Oh, I love this so much. Now, I want to be a little bit nosy and ask you, were you raised with any sense of spirituality, religion, magic? Or is this something that came to you as you became an adult?
I was a child of two parents, and I was born in the Soviet Union myself. They were born, and in the Soviet Union, religion or any kind of spirituality was stripped away, the communists. And like a religion is the opium of the masses. And with that, you know, my parents were not particularly spiritual people. They were like, we came to America, we must survive. You know, that was like, we were very much in survival mode.
Yeah.
Being immigrants, refugees to this country in the late 70s, you know, for a very long time until they got through their medical school and they began to live their American dream.
Yes.
So I had no sense of spirituality. We didn't really go to spiritual spaces until I went to France for the first time at 14 years old. And I found God through beauty.
Come on.
Yeah.
The chills are
Yeah.
chilling.
So I would
Tell me
walk
more.
into the
Where?
Notre Dame. The Boston churches were beautiful, but they were Puritan.
Sure.
You know, so they did not open my whole body.
Yeah, there's not an
with the
opulence
color
to
and the
them.
opulence of the
Famously, the
Catholic.
Puritans
Yeah,
don't like
exactly.
opulence. Yeah.
And I am a hedonist.
Yeah.
So I walked
Well, you're
into
a
those.
sensualist.
I'm a sensualist. I mean,
Yeah.
I think hedonist is a positive word.
Yeah.
And I'm a
Yeah.
sensualist, and my body responds to these things like antenna.
Yeah.
So we all know when we walk into the Notre Dame or a beautiful cathedral, we feel it. And just the buildings and the food and the sensuality of the place, I was like, this is God.
Yeah.
So that was my God until in my late 20s, I had a spontaneous kind of Kundalini awakening experience. And then
Do you want to talk more about that, or is it private?
no, I could speak about it. It was like just waking up in the middle of the night and like having access to more information, to like a wider range of information. And I was very confused at first.
You were in
Because
your 20s living
I
where?
was in the East Village, living in my 20s.
Uh-huh.
And I had just moved from London doing my graduate degree. And I was like staying house sitting at my friend's house.
Uh-huh.
And I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, I felt a presence. And I didn't really have context for this. I wasn't raised this way. And I was like, started asking it questions. And it started responding to questions. And I was like, I know this is not me because I am not this wise. Like, I
Okay.
am 29. I do not know where my life is going. This is definitely not me. I must have
Yes.
accessed something.
Yes.
And it was like with me. And I think it was connecting the Golden Dawn would call it, connecting with the Holy Guardian, the HGA or some aspect
Holy
of it.
guardian angel.
Yeah, like kind of my own, whatever level of mini Christ consciousness or some kind of higher level consciousness.
Wow.
Than I was
you're
capable of.
Daemon in the
Yeah.
traditional Roman sense, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. However, I didn't have the words to call it.
Okay.
But I was
This
connected to it.
creative spirit or a higher spirit,
higher
maybe?
level, if you look at the Kabbalistic tree of life, like just a higher realm of consciousness.
Were you studying Kabbalah at the time?
No, I was just 29 trying to think of like, how am I going to make ends meet in the
Yeah.
East Village?
You
How's
weren't
like
studying
bumping?
spirituality.
No,
Just suddenly you had this
no.
experience.
Yes. Yes, it came out of nowhere. So it took me a long time to put it into context, and it was with me for 3 months. And then it suddenly went away. And I spent my whole 30s and 40s looking for it, kind of working with plant medicine
Mhm.
and working with meditation and working with psychology and somatic psychology and group therapy and all kinds of everything that I could get my hands on, because I was like, I want to get back there.
Yes.
How do I get back there and like
Yes.
stay there? I want to live from that place.
So many follow-up questions. We don't have time for all of them, but just to stay with this being for a moment, it felt like another presence.
It was me. But it
Yes.
was like, it felt very
Grand.
familiar. That's
Okay.
where I think maybe the future self was kind of born. Now that I think about it, I'm actually just making that connection now. But it felt very familiar, but like way more expanded than I was.
How incredible. And did you make changes in your life from that
Yeah.
moment on?
Everything changed. I think spiritual, religious people might call it a direct experience of the divine.
Okay.
I guess that would be the way to say it that is most understandable to people. I've talked to like rabbis. I went to this psychedelic conference, like MAPS, in 2023, and they had these spiritual people who had direct experiences of the divine, but never had worked with medicine. And they had experiences of the divine through medicine. But they always said that their direct experience without medicine is the strongest one,
Yeah.
you know?
And were you working in interior design at that point?
Yes, I had already been in the editor at House
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'd already
Okay.
got that.
Yeah.
And then I'd left and done graduate school in theater. So this is me coming back from that graduate school to New York from that graduate school.
I feel like
the
my
first
jaw has been hanging
Yeah.
open this whole conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you have this experience, and what changes do you make in your life?
Well, it just changed the way I see people and my
Yeah.
connection to people. I was like, had a lot of this outsider. I'm an outsider. I'm not, energy of like being a refugee immigrant. So
Yeah.
it softened. It was very healing.
Ugh.
I felt very connected to God for the first time. I was like, there's something else out there besides like this. I mean, once you feel that, you can't unfeel that.
Yeah. And now that you have this book out, it will be out by the time this episode releases. And it really is truly a magnificent book. I think listeners who are familiar with the Witch Wave and viewers know that I invite guests on here with a lot of intention and integrity. And when it comes to things like interior design, sometimes, because what you're doing is very unique, but there are other people in the space of, I was just going to name names and I shouldn't do that. Picture a luxury website that we all know who likes to sell you spiritual ideas for a very, very high price and spiritual objects for a very, very high price. And I really stay away from that. And yet your book attracted me and you attracted me to you because I truly believe in the magic that you are discussing here. And I have to know, now that this book is out in the world, do you feel like you are integrating parts of yourself that maybe when you were 29 and having that experience, it started to awaken even as far back then? I don't know.
I would say definitely something awakened, which is a desire for depth and a desire to bring that energy into my life, into the material world, and really weave that, because it was so rich. It wasn't even about the moneyed life, but it was like the meaning and the depth. So I wanted to weave that energy into my career, weave that energy in how I felt in my relationships. But I was just at the beginning of my journey. And we all know what we're like the first few years of our journey when we start working with this stuff. Those of us who weren't doing so as children, there are those that knew this as children and that's their only way of being.
Yes.
And then those of us who come into it as adults.
Oh, Olga. Wow. I bet you guys thought we were just going to talk about throw pillows, and instead we talk about an epiphany from your higher guardian angel. We went to some big, beautiful places together. I cannot recommend this book more highly. It's called Spatial Alchemy. I'll hold it up one more time for the benefit of those watching on YouTube. The book itself, as I said, it's an exquisite tome. It is so beautifully designed. I understand you designed the cover as well,
Yeah,
right? That's pretty unique.
Well, I designed it to be a sexy coffee table book. Like, I really wanted it to have that magnetic pull, and there's a portal on the book, and there's a portal in my room, which is on the cover.
Yes.
So I really designed it to be a portal.
Yes.
The cover, so that it looks good on your coffee table.
Yes.
And then is really content rich. So it's going to like really show you how to shift the energy in your home in a very intentional way. So it's kind of both things.
Yes. And I have to say, reading it, I was curled up, unfortunately not in an emotional regulation chair, but in a very lovely couch with my cat next to me. It really is a beautiful experience just reading the book as well. It's so exquisitely designed. Congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. Olga, if people want to work with you directly, do you still take on clients and consultancy gigs?
I do take on clients and consultancy gigs. I come to people's homes. I have many levels of working with me because I really want to help people understand their homes in different ways. So I work with like bespoke interior design things, designing spaces from the ground up. And I also love coming into people's homes, playing and tweaking, and then seeing what happens in their life after I hang out with them for the day.
How fabulous. And if people want to work with you, is there a website or what's the best way people can get in touch?
They could look up thespatialalchemy.com, and that's my website, or they could follow me on Instagram to kind of get my vibe, catch my vibe. I write a lot. It's Olga Naiman. That's my hashtag.
Great. And Naiman is spelled
Naiman.
Perfect. Olga, I'm really trying to figure out how to get you to our apartment. It is so wonderful to meet you. What a pleasure. Congratulations again on the book. And everybody go pick up Spatial Alchemy. Thank you so much, Olga.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That's it for the show. Thank you again to Olga Naiman for sharing her exquisite energy and spatial alchemy with me. Do you have questions, feedback, need some witchly advice, or just want to share something magical that happened to you recently? Drop us an email or voice message over at witchwavepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, and you just might make it on the Witchwire. The Witch Wave is a Phantasmaphile production written and produced by me, Pam Grossman. This episode was recorded, edited, and mixed by Josh Wilcox and/or Walter Nordquist and myself. Our theme music is the song Hand and I by Lycanthia. Our new Witch Wave logo was designed by Thunderwing. Special thanks go to Matt Freeman, Laura Antal, and Cece Pascal. You can check out information about this and other episodes on our website, and now buy Witch Wave merch at witchwavepodcast.com. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at witchwavepod, and you can check out my witch emoji for iPhone by going to witchemoji.com or downloading it in the App Store. My books Waking the Witch from Gallery Books and Witchcraft from Taschen are available everywhere now. And if you want more Witch Wave or you would just like to support the show, please join us over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/witchwave. Thank you so much for listening. Witches are the future. I'll catch you next time on The Witch Wave.